Greetings. Shalom. I was in my truck. I was going to get out as normal, but thought to do share what I had on mind, and I had this on mind to do something, and it just didn't happen at that time. Specifically about to him who works, it's counted as debt, which is what we read. Maybe in Romans, I'm not sure. I think it more than once likely. So we read the same thing there. It's the same truth, and all his truth is one. And it's actually, his truth is always simple, but it's not appearing as simple without understanding given. And then there is still always further to see more about any given truth. So there's more to see, meaning not there yet perfectly and filled up fully in this truth right here. Do not know it all. Don't know how much self knows or doesn't know, rather, in contrast to whatever the perfect thing is. And nevertheless, there is no condemnation for those that believe in Messiah and are not under the law, but under his grace and his favor, as Messiah was himself, as the example. It's not doing the split screen here. There it goes. Find a verse or so too for Messiah being under grace himself. It's all backwards in the heart, what the religion has done. It's all backwards. It is not good. Okay, and there's one, Luke 2:52. Is one search that I came up with here, but and Yehoshua increased in wisdom. So we need the wisdom, but which wisdom? From above or the worldly wisdom? He received wisdom from the Father above. He increased in wisdom and stature. Well, stature is meaning something greater than its own image itself, as that's how the Father teaches all things, and that's how his creation speaks day and night and teaches, even though barely anyone's listening, but it's still doing it. And that's what love is. It does good anyways. The Father does the good anyways, and now wants us to do the good anyways, even with knowledge that most won't believe, that they'll do evil back, hate the truth, hate the Creator, hate him even viciously, plot against you, do all kinds of evil, speak all manner of evil against you, plot with others to try to falsely get someone to believe something false about you, conspiracies, all those things. Do good anyways. That's what the Father does. So now he is that himself first, and so now it's being given to the firstborn of the dead, which is Messiah, the first of all the firstborn. And he increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with Elohim and men. Now, let me look that word up real quick here. Favor in Strong's. This word is used many times. It's translated as grace most of the time, 121 times. And then there's like 6 thank, favor, 6 thanks, pleasure, 2 2 1 1 or 2 1 1 1 1 1. So 100 something times, 121 times it's translated as grace in the Strongs. And the Thayer's definition, the first word there is grace. So it's one with favor. Graciousness, gratifying a manner or act, abstract or concrete, literal, figurative, or spiritual, especially the divine influence upon the heart and its reflection in the life. Gratitude, acceptable, benefit, favor, grace, gift. Every good gift comes from above. Joy, liberality, yes, the law of liberty, like we also read elsewhere, which is not understood by the carnal heart. It needs to be sought after. This liberty is not having anything to do with sin, and being free to sin is all. Someone is either a slave to sin or a slave to righteousness. Nobody's free in some kind of rebellion to just do whatever they want. And the spirit is against the flesh, and the flesh lusts against the spirit, like we read also. And then the spirit is warring against the flesh so that we cannot so that we don't do what we want. Free will? How about they read that verse to the congregation right next to saying free will? The greatest gift the Father ever gave was rebellion. Free will. I'm a little bit confused about what this so-called free will is. He allows man to sin, and he's allowing that, but that is not what they mean by free will, but yet it's all twisted and mixed up. It's a crooked intention. It's a corrupt thing. The way the heart is speaking that is not what the heart is mean. It's not meaning why the heart says that. It's in rebellion saying that. It does not submit to the power and sovereignty of the Creator. It does not believe that there's any authority above it. Otherwise, it would never say that it has full-blown free will, the greatest gift the Father himself ever gave. Utter lies, all of it. It's blasphemy, even. If they could see a little bit of the truth in the heart given from the Father, they would start seeing, always starting with a little bit, which there's nothing wrong with a little bit, but they would see that man doesn't have this free will, as it said, and then that would grow. There would be more proofs as the Father shows it, even deeper, and more meanings and angles to it to prove it that we never saw before. It just gets more and more unbelievable, increasingly so. He utterly proves something, but in the beginning it's pretty shallow, which is okay when it's, that's the only way it's going to get to a big tree, is to be small and skinny and tiny in the beginning. There's nothing wrong with it when it's under his favor, under his grace. So then that person has truth, and they can say they do not believe in free will, even though it's not perfect, even though there's hypocrisy that it's going to be in everyone. But when it's under his way and we're doing what's right according to the knowledge we have currently, wanting to do his will, seeking to do it, repenting when needing to about anything that's evil or sin in the heart, he covers that hypocrisy. See who's going to take advantage of this favor and grace to just go and sin more so that the grace can increase. Oh, that's how it works, says the carnal mind. As the serpents start going around in the mind, resist the devil. That's what we have to do, and he'll flee from us. Resist that wicked thought and temptation that this means that we can just sin all we want, and sin on purpose with intent so that more grace is given. No, it's got to be under his perfect way, which is wanting to do what's right, which is from the heart, not wanting to sin on purpose, but because of wherever someone's at, because of the weakness of the flesh, because of lack of knowledge for things, because of lack of power, and someone sins and they do whatever sin, then we have to really repent for that sin. And then when it's through his way, his grace will cover. He will forgive. But we do have to repent, though, because then there's nothing to forgive. It makes sense. It's fair. It doesn't sound or look fair, that's for sure. But the more knowledge he gives us, the more fair it becomes in the heart. But first, it was disagreement. It was enmity. It says, this is wicked. This is not fair. This is evil. This is backwards from pride. As it sings and wants its image plastered everywhere, just self, and full rebellion. And that's what it is. This grace has to work through his own way. He guards his way to the tree of life. No one can eat the fruit and receive good works, which leads to life, which life is good works, and good works is life. Because whoever keeps the commandments, that's life. Messiah teaching, if you want life, not to literally, everyone's already literally alive, that's alive right now. If you want life, that true life that we read of, that age-abiding life known as eternal life in the world, which is whatever. They do evil with that word, with the other doctrine of hell, and it corrupts the meaning of this life also, because it's not just to live forever. Of course, literally eternal would be no beginning, and there's a beginning to everything. It's an abomination to take away that truth of the beginning of belief, the beginning of the new creation, the beginning of all these things. There was a beginning. Therefore, if someone is caring, you start being careful with everything we say. Never thought that these things were lies before. Never thought, if I say it in a slightly joking way, it justifies the lie. No. Whoever is faithful with little will be given also to be faithful with much. Do care is what Messiah is teaching for all of us. Do care about what looks tiny and worthless. Do care about that thing. Don't say the lie. Don't be backwards and sarcastic and always lying constantly like the world does through this way alone, let alone lying all the time with the heart, with really evil, nasty intent. Even when it's not like full-blown, like really wrathful and evil, it's still no good. It's a lie. We can't be tricking people and deceiving them constantly. And if someone looks, you could see this everywhere. And if anyone has eyes to see, look at YouTube as an example about titles people put, constantly deceiving someone. And even when it doesn't look like they're doing that, for the purpose of going, ha ha, deceived you, because you put something in and you create an image. The image someone creates is what they're working with. They want you to believe that image. But when you find out the reality and details of what they made, it's not what you thought, which is deception. It creates the image that it wants to sell you. This goes along with this, and this goes along with this. And then now someone watches the video thinking it's going to be like that. All of a sudden, it's not, And then that's deception. That's evil. We should not be doing that, ever. And saying, I'm just joking, isn't going to work. Read the word in Proverbs that everyone's doing constantly. I was only joking. In fact, I think it's a good reminder to read that one because of how common it is. Let me search that. Messiah gained wisdom and stature and grace, favor with Elohim and man. He was under grace. Search. And yeah, we do read he was born under the law, I think it said, by a woman. I'm trying to find that other verse. How come it's not searching? Oh, there we go, because I'm doing something wrong. Let's see if I could just put joking, I think. There it is. Proverbs 26:19. But it begins with 18, really. I'll read 17 too. Now, this is also happening a lot. He who passes by and meddles in a quarrel not his own is like one who takes a dog by the ears. What's going to happen? What should we expect? We're not supposed to do that. What does it look like in the real world to obey these words and live them in the heart? It looks evil on the one doing what's right. People will think evil of you that you don't care. Too bad. Keep walking. That's what this means. If it's someone else's problems and there's, people, it's their own thing. If that's the discernment, and if that's what it is, that has to be known first. We're not to mess with someone else's problems like that and dogpile. No dog pile. Keep walking in the narrow way. Move forward. That's what this is teaching. Messiah lived these words. He did it. And people would have and did speak and think evil of him for doing good all the time. Because it makes, somehow the Father's way, it makes it so perfect to sacrifice your own self and image. Every actual good work somehow makes the image look bad and needs to be sacrificed. It's incredible. And then that works out a huge plan and something good. And then all the details somehow work together, all for itself, for good, not contradicting anywhere, one purpose for another, for another, for another. I don't know how he creates all this and all the planning. That's just literally perfect and beyond comprehension for how he does it. But now to 18, like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death. That's not a light thing. Arrows is for the intention of piercing someone, Hopefully it kills them. Hopefully it hurts them. It does damage and evil. That's the intent. A madman that throws firebrands, arrows, and death. Now I want to look up that word, madman. As mad, a verb. Let's see, how is this? It's only, the specific one's only used twice. Once in Genesis, once in Proverbs, looks like. I want to find where the other time it's used. Genesis 47. And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. Interesting. And that context surrounding that word is like starving to death, famine. So now, as a madman, so that word mad here, to burn, that is by implication to be afraid, figuratively insane. Also from the exhaustion of frenzy, to languish, faint. To be crazy, but it's like a insanity coming from starving, I believe. To burn, to be rabid, exhaustion of frenzy, languish, to languish, faint, to amaze, to startle, madman. Okay. So someone that's out of their mind, right? A wicked, out of their mind person does this. That's out of the heart. And it does make sense that they would be starving, because when someone's starving, desperation kicks in. Someone will do anything to feed. They eat the sins of my people. They eat my people, we read. So now it needs to go out and do evil to put food on the table of its heart in order to stay alive in the beast. What an utter taking. What an undertaking. What a utter trap for stupid man, carnal man. He thinks he's wise and prideful, and he's utterly trapped and taken. In reality, for those seeing the things of spirit, someone is having to murder and do evil to put food on the table so that they can stay alive to the beast, so that it can sin more and do more evil tomorrow. That should make someone sweat at some point in this walk for how crazy that is. searching the madness of foolishness and folly. There is a real spiritual desperation, and that's part of the punishment to put people in that, because the Father must punish sin. It's a punishment to be starving and in desperation. This is what man wants. He doesn't want my way. He doesn't want my things. He says wood, stone, and other gods have power, and that it's not coming all from me, from him. Then he will let someone believe their own lie and utterly fill up with what their heart wants. You wanted it, he says. This is what you really want. If you didn't want it, you would seek my things. And I wouldn't condemn you for not being what you need to be, but you would be under my grace, which is my way, or the wide way, highway. That's it. Too bad. My way or the wide way gate, he says. Fill up with self's things and what self wants, which is going to be more and more punishment, death, madness, folly, foolishness, contradiction, hypocrisy. Or come to his way, come to him, and realize that all that madness and eating pig food is insane. All this time, someone could just say with their heart, let me go this way. He already has enough to eat over there, and some extra for everyone else, and then some. All the good things he has, he could have just always, couldn't he? Just turn around and why run away? Why try to go his own way? You know, two cowboys go out and they think this is the greatest thing ever. Let's rebel. Woohoo, this is fun. This is awesome. Freedom! 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 As it screams, the world screams freedom because it has no freedom. It has no freedom or liberty from sin. It's a slave to it every day. It's even a slave by this world, by Egypt. A slave under debt to this world, to be in debt to do what it commands everyone to do, which is to make the rich more money. And yeah, that's a nasty thing if someone's seeing it. And yet the Father makes a way to do whatever we need to do, his things, without sin. That's what we're supposed to find, is find a way. It doesn't look like there's a way. It's not supposed to look like there's a way. No, we won't look like we're doing any good to this world. We will look like hypocrites because it's the same image. Anybody could just say, yeah, I'm doing this without sin, and walk away, have a nice day. They could do that with all things, all spiritual things, all his word, every commandment, every law. That's what the wicked have opportunity so easy to do at any time, because his things are invisible. So then it'll just say, out of the madness and blindness of this world, thinking no one can see any difference because it can't see any difference. It can only put out what it is itself. If it's blind, it can only put out that you are blind. You see nothing. And it implies that through its works secretly that are not secret for anyone who can see. It's obvious when the Father shows an evil work and what someone's secretly implying, thinking no one can see their intention. And it's obvious. It's like the sun coming out, It's like the sun in the sky. It's so obvious once a little bit of light is shed in our heart to see what someone's works are and what they really mean, that they can't tell you face to face because they're cowards, because they're Adam and Eve still hiding and running. They cover up all their works and hide behind their own words, looking like one image while hiding the intention of what they really mean behind the words, behind the image that they create. This is for believers to not do. This is deception. This is murder. Anyone that deceives someone or lies to them even one time with intent is murder. And if it's not repented of, that sin will be on them forever. The rest of their life, it will be stuck on their body. If it's 1 pound, it's 1 pound of weight forever. And someone gets used to their misery, don't they? Isn't that what they sing and talk about? And these things have been coming in more, and it's astonishing to me. It's astonishing how bad it is. Like, I have a hard time believing just how all this time that the whole world has been singing to the devil for itself, selfishness, for self-gain, about its sins and what it is. and Des its whole life in hypocrisy, thinking that no one can see their tricks. Oh no, I'm really singing about this. This is just some image, some story I created. No, you're not. You're singing about your heart and the sin guilt you are in all the time. It's about you. That's what it's about. But they think their little devil disguised trick about being something else, the image sold by the devil, is going to trick everyone, and no one can find out and figure out what it's really about, even though it's obvious when a little bit of light is given. It's so blind and prideful that it thinks no one can figure it out and see. Even after being seen and spotted, self is in fear, going, no one can see me. No one, how does he know? How does she know? No one can see. Nope, they're blind. They're blind like I'm blind. It's just already doing this in the heart, because that's the only thing a man can do, is pour out what he is onto others. If he's utterly blind in truth and reality, he can only do works that imply you're blind. You're utterly stupid and blind. It secretly implies you're an idiot all the time, because it's an idiot and foolish and blind. It's just the truth. That's all that man can do. He doesn't even have to think about doing that. He can only put out to others what he receives by others and what he is. He can only do to others what others do to him, because that would be what? Breaking of all the law. Nobody keeps this that doesn't believe. No one's doing those works. People are not obeying. Well, they're doing the sin. They're not obeying. Do to others as you would want others to do to you, because that's the summing up and keeping of all the law. All of it is working through that one word. That doesn't mean all these laws are worthless now. It's just summed up in one thing, because it's one. Out of good and evil can be summed up in the same way, out of evil. One in that it's all evil. Here's how it's summed up, the backwards thing. Do to others as done to you. Do to others exactly what was done to you. I give that back to others. That's all that man can do. He doesn't need to be commanded that. That's all that man already is from his heart, his soul first. That's what we need to overcome and not do, and be different, because no one in the world is doing to others what they would want. It doesn't even cross their mind for every work they do. It doesn't. And if it's told to them, it's instantly forgotten. The seed is going into here's the seed, the word, and the bird takes it instantly. It's gone. It bounces right off of them. It's such utter hate and disgust for truth. It's like, like I see, like, snakes and like demons, like just a picture, like hates the truth so bad, so astonished by whatever is true. It cannot believe it just heard truth that exposes its heart's works. It cannot believe it. And it instantly fills up with wrath, murder, and evil, and wants revenge, and will do it, and can't stop, because anyone that doesn't seek the Creator won't be able to stop their evil. And it's the Father's grace and mercy just how bad someone can fall. He restrains a lot of evil. All he has to do is say, leash out. And someone that people thought well of in this world and liked and said is a good person ends up literally killing someone, and no one had a clue. No one saw it coming. That's what happens to the average normal person. They were all normal in this way at some point. And maybe it started to grow in, whatever the case is for someone's life long ago, or when they were young. Those details, it doesn't matter. The thing that matters is the heart's works and intentions and what we believe and do. So when someone says they were joking, not in this world. No, not from unbelievers in this world. No, they weren't joking. Look at what someone says. See it as real, that it was an attack and evil, and now watch their soul morph into whatever it needs to be to hide that sin that it did. It will morph and retreat and morph some more and retreat some more and what they call passive aggressive and all this garbage. That's what someone will do to blend in with the current condition and surroundings, whatever it takes, to make it look like that they have no sin and didn't do any evil. They were just joking now. No, they weren't. The first thing someone does or even slips up, that was the real thing, most likely, that they have secretly in their heart. And sometimes, a lot of times, people just literally slip up and say what they didn't want to say. Then they have to create creating like a formula for all this. They have to create an escape after that and think and plot how they can deceive that person because they love them so much. Anyone that deceives someone hates the one that they deceive, period. They hate them and have no care for them or any regard. What's the proof? They deceive them. That's the proof. It's over, God-man. God-man can't say now that he has love for the person and has no hate for him. You did the works that prove it. It's over. Of course, now the enemy's always going to have opportunity, like already said, to condemn the Father's people in his own way because they don't believe in forgiveness. They don't believe in grace. They don't know what it is. They don't have it. No one can understand what they don't have. Don't they teach that to people in this world carnally? They don't believe it. They don't. They can say they believe it all they want, but a person cannot understand what they do not have and have never experienced. They do not believe in his grace or forgiveness. The devil hates and does not believe in forgiveness ever. It remembers someone's sins forever, all the way to the deathbed it remembers. And David says, murder, spill the blood of this person or that person. Make sure you avenge me. Make sure you do sin and kill yourself spiritually by obeying my carnal command to literally kill someone. It makes me smoke for how blind everyone is. Self is, the carnal man, Adam is, that needs to die in us because it is frighteningly blind. It is evil and blind. People aren't learning. People aren't seeing the two sides of his sword. They're not receiving from the Father the good things that man never had, the other side of the sword, the spiritual things. He only had one side of the sword, the carnal side of the sword, which he already is, the natural man first. They did what they thought his words mean, like anyone would do and has done. That's the best man can do, and even that's not an excuse to do sin. And yet it's true that that's the best someone can do apart from the Father. Father, excuses are an abomination to the Creator because he's righteous. Because excuses are a nasty, lying, deceitful thing. It's a lie. It's a deception. Now, how many times can self think, and anyone that might be listening, think of how many times did they deceive someone in their life? I know I've done it. I don't know how many times. I'm guilty of it. And it's a nasty thing. But now those that believe, we can't be wanting to do this with intention, with intent to deceive, with the lustful wolf heart. That's the important thing, and that he protects his people. That's what we are supposed to believe, that he will make a way and he protects his people from utter destruction and going into that. It doesn't mean that we're not going to sin and make mistakes. It doesn't mean that. It does mean that he will protect his people and not let them be utterly destroyed. It's so easy to do that, and someone doing it is blind in that they don't believe they're doing the work of evil deception. That's the blinding. They don't believe they're doing it. It's not that they don't have a clue they're doing it. At some point they saw it. I don't know how blind someone gets when their conscience is completely seared with a hot iron. At some point, I guess a man just becomes a monster and there's just nothing left. There's not even any conscience or sin guilt left. It's just like, here it is, the dead monster. just a slasher now with, it's empty, it's void, it has no remorse, no regret, no remorse, no regret. It's unbelievable, you know. And if someone looks at what people sing about and look at the lyrics, see how evil and how it's all about sin and hypocrisy. The stage actors are hypocrites. They're guilty of everything they sing about. You can't be anything else. If a literal stage actor, when man is already this in his heart, but a literal stage actor, that's another level of hypocrisy and sin. They're literal stage actors. Their whole life is a slavery to the image that they sold. They have to sell forever now and work for the devil for that image and sin forever in this life, unless they were somehow to repent. But if not, it's forever. Pierce the ear and become a slave forever. And that's what others want. They want slaves to drive slaves. The people want slaves under them in a wicked, evil way. And Messiah says this is not so for his people. This is not so for his disciples, his people, to do what the world does with being a master and a king in one's own mind. It's not working like the way that's working. That's the fake master. That's the fake king. The true king is the one that Messiah is, that everyone hates and is disgusted by. That's the true king. The one that does not come to serve, to be served, but to serve others and sacrifice self for doing that good for others. That's who Messiah is. And they didn't believe him, and it's not going to be any different today for anyone doing the Father's works. It cannot be believed, because no one can believe what they have never done and do not have and have never done. They just can't. They just can't. It takes life to see life. It takes life to do good works and works of life to someone, and to believe the good works takes life to have, to believe it, if it's being done. And it does need to be discerned if it's being done. But how does the enemy have any discernment? Of course it's just going to slash and attack and say that every believer is also a madly wicked unbeliever just like them. You know, that's what it'll do. It doesn't see any difference between good and evil, and that's the very thing that Adam and Eve need to learn, and see the difference between every good, every detail of every law, the difference between the good of that law and the evil of that law, the keeping of it, what it looks like, and the breaking of it and what that looks like. Catch our breath. Like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death is the man who deceives his neighbor. See, the one that throws the firebrands and arrows and death is the man who deceives his neighbor. What does he say? And says, I was only joking. Man, when that first hit me, I was stunned. When I saw a little bit for the first time on that verse, and it's still growing. It's still becoming what it needs to still further. It's not done yet, you know, which is like, how much more is there to see? It's astonishing. How much didn't we see that is happening in the real world all the time? Meaning the actual sin is being done all the time. We just couldn't see it. Literally couldn't see it. And if someone can see it now, it's pretty astonishing. For them, it must be. Yes, it is. It's also astonishing that someone else can see in this world. It's astonishing that anyone has sight. See, this world doesn't believe in forgiveness. It doesn't believe in the Creator. It doesn't believe in healing. It doesn't believe that Messiah can heal the blind. What does the blind man have to do? He said, I'm blind. Help me, I'm blind. You know, he has to acknowledge in his heart he's blind. Messiah heals the person that was blind. And the Pharisees ask the person. They come to him and ask. And all he does is answer truthfully. I was blind and now I'm healed. And they say, are you teaching us now? You were born in sins. It's hysterically evil and hypocritical. It's unbelievable. It proves their heart does not believe. They could see that. They could see the proof. It doesn't matter. Their heart is unable to believe that They don't want to believe. They don't want to. They saw the proof. Somewhere they know it happened. You can't deny truth in reality. It can't be proven wrong. But see, this is the corruption in the heart. Although it knew Elohim, it did not worship him as such, but worshipped four-footed beasts and creeping things. It fell, and it's falling ever since then, getting deeper and deeper into the pit. I mean, the heart is more corrupt, meaning that the heart actually is getting worse on wanting the lie to be true, on wanting the truth to be a lie. It's getting worse. The cancer, the rust, and the corruption in the throne of someone's heart. They sing about these things too, astonishingly everywhere. The rust even, and the moth-eaten garbage that this devil world is, and what all the things that matter to people are nothing, you know. That's why Messiah says and teaches that the heavenly rewards the devil and no one can touch. There is no, where moth doesn't corrupt, where there is no rust, there's no cancer, there's no corruption and rust destroying. But earthly things, man's things that he wants, and not the natural thing always being evil itself, but because of the heart worshiping and wanting that to replace the true things of the Father, then that thing becomes the devil's things because of the heart's intention and working of it. Which is like a sword that's used for evil. You know, it wasn't the sword's fault all by itself, but it becomes one with the evil, and now the sword is evil because it was used for evil. The Father gives things that aren't corruption, that there's no thieves and robbers in heaven. He doesn't allow that in heaven. He doesn't allow that in his kingdom. No unclean thing can come in his kingdom. But now, that's why we read that only the pure see him. The pure in heart see him. Let me find that. Pure in heart. Well, Psalm 73, truly Elohim is good to Israel, to such as are pure in heart. Matthew 5:8, Messiah's words. Well, let's read all the Beatitudes. Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the... I think I've heard it both ways, blessed or blessed. You know, I don't know which way I even prefer. I guess both sometimes. I don't know. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Filled with what? The very things, heavenly things, food and water, life. Because someone needs food, they need water. And if we lose one of those things forever, we die even if we have the other one. Because someone has food, but they have no water. Well, I mean, unless the food they're eating has got a lot of water in it, I don't know. Maybe they would live quite a while without water. Like, I don't know, certain fruits, I don't know. See, these are the kind of straining at the gnats that we just don't argue and do what the world does. It's a cancer and a corruption itself. That's not the heart of the meaning anyways. But when it's about important heavenly things of the heart, people swallow it like they swallow camels. That's why Messiah taught that, because when it's a huge thing that matters, no one notices. It just, and just swallow like, you know, swallowing a camel. And how do you swallow a camel? It's impossible. And yet it's being done. That's what that's teaching also. That's why pride in evil thinks it's God also, because it does the impossible. It's so stupid and prideful and dumb. It thinks it good that it's doing the impossible all the time. someone can't be dumb enough to do evil, but it's showing that man is blind. Otherwise, he wouldn't do this obvious, stupid evil, but he's blind. He doesn't want to see, doesn't believe in healing, doesn't believe in forgiveness. It's just showing, a fool cannot err, and yet everyone is in error in this world. So that verse does not mean fools do not literally err. It's bringing out that the Father's truth is simple, pure, and cannot be confusing and confused. It's too simple and pure and good. A fool cannot err. And yet that's what the world is, in error constantly. The spirit of error, because it doesn't mean that a fool cannot literally err, even though it sounds like it. So we can't judge his word by what it sounds like only. It needs to be given the understanding from him. Because if we just judged it by what it sounds and looks like, it's sin. It's evil to think and teach that, because that's a lie. Fools err all the time, constantly. The whole world's in error and of the spirit of error all the time. So it does not mean literally a fool cannot err. And yet those words are true, because it's bringing out the simplicity of the truth. And if a fool cannot err, isn't that the worst case possible? What about someone that's not a fool? Surely they won't err. It's bringing out that man is very blind, very foolish, but specifically and especially very blind. Because the truth is just too simple, too pure, too good. Someone cannot err, but they must be blind if they are in error. Indeed, they are. That's what his word teaches. And whatever blinding a believer has needs to be further healed. There's more to be healed constantly. So no one can boast, because there's still blinding in every believer right now that needs to further be healed. So no one can boast. The moment they think out of pride, I'm not blind, I'm better than everyone, with that kind of working in the heart, Father's going to put them in their place and prove it with works, with real things, real circumstances, and with just enough light to show us that we're stupid and evil, that we did a stupid, evil thing, and did a blind work or something out in the world, did some blind, stupid thing. And then there will be some shame there, which needs to be worked out right now through his way. See, they're storing up wrath and shame on that day of revelation. The wicked, they don't understand what they're doing. They think by hiding it, it's going to fix the problem and make it go away and get better. It's getting worse. It would have been better if they had a little bit of shame, a little bit of acknowledgement according to how someone is able to in the beginning. It would have been better to acknowledge that sin and have a little bit of shame where the Father won't bring too much on them. It won't overwhelm them. It won't be too much. He promises that, but the wicked don't believe that promise and call him an austere man, a wicked, and I think that's the word, a hypocrite that does not reap where he sows, does not sow where he reaps, whatever. And Messiah speaks the judgment back. What will happen to the man that believes that corruption? He will become it. He will utterly become it himself. That's how important belief is, and that's how more of it's been shown me on just how important and shown how corrupt my heart is, that if left to my own thoughts and works, I'm doomed, because self has said too many times that self won't make it. The Father will get us through. You start getting tempted to think that old evil thing. It does matter what someone believes. They will become what they believe in their heart. That's how much it matters. That's how important that belief is to the Father, because it has to do with the heart's works, what we believe. It's not like what someone thinks in this world. Oh, belief, what's it matter? Shut up. It matters more than... There is nothing else that matters except what someone is doing and believing in the heart. Someone says it doesn't matter, that's not likely a believer. It would have to be discerned, but that's not a good sign. That's perfectly backwards and evil. They will become what they believe. It's not a joke. That's what the Father will make sure someone becomes, what they want, what they believe. And I know that sounds stupid to this world. I can hear it in my mind what the world would say if they heard these words. They would say something about religion and say something about it's a circle proving its own self. The Bible, reading the Bible to prove the Bible is true, nonsense. As if the Father is that stupid. As if faith is some stupid thing like that. It's incredible. But see, that's when someone does that, they're speaking out of the abundance and wickedness of their own heart and lack of belief and truth in their own heart. They just spoke what they believe. When they hear those words, they just spoke what they believe. That's why they're attacking with an angry face, because they're offended that they don't know or have any faith, and that's what they believe. A man cannot do evil to anyone without being a hypocrite. Not possible. Test it and see if it isn't so. The person is guilty of their accusation if they did evil in their heart at all. If what they did was evil and an attack and offended through an evil offense that they tripped over, and now they're offended because they tripped over the offenses that Messiah says are inevitable, that must be in the world. That's them. They just poured out their folly for what they believe. They think of his word, what they just said, that it's some circle of proving its own self like that. That's what they think those words mean when they hear it. What do they believe? Well, they don't have any belief. They think they're wise by having no belief, so-called, but that's not even true itself. Their unbelief is their belief. That's what they don't believe, but their unbelief is their doctrine, their destruction. They think it's wise by just saying, I don't believe in that stupid garbage. And then it's just a con. What a con game. Yeah, it's all confusion. That's all it is. It's just a mixing up of everyone's sins and guilt and folly and false beliefs mixed with some true words here. It's what an astonishing mess. What a disaster, man, that this world is, that man's heart is. The Father can put all those things in order for those that trust and believe in him and believe who he is, which is that he is and that he can and will do these things. It's very easy to slip and not believe those things. It's just too easy. It's too easy. So then we have to ask to not do that evil and put him to an evil test and say he can't do something. That's the wicked belief. That's the belief of the whole world, that there is no creator in their heart and that they cannot overcome anything. That's what the wicked believe. Look how they talk all day long. They are the negativity that they try to condemn others. They are the negative person that doesn't believe in any hope or belief at all, or in the creator at all, that good can come, that forgiveness can come. They don't believe in any of those things. If they did, they would know the Father, because the Father does not reject someone that truly believes in him. He's never done that and never will do that. Now we're speaking of real belief, not fake belief through a wicked heart, through a delusion, using religious things and his word to cover their sins. Not speaking of that so-called belief, speaking of real belief from the heart. He doesn't reject anyone that believes. It's incredible how simple that is to just believe, and yet it's like the hardest thing to do. It's a constant war to stay that way and continue to believe, and believe more, actually, not even to stay in the same spot, to believe more a few months from now than ever before. That's the goal. A seed grows. The kingdom of heaven must be growing. We're supposed to believe that it will grow, and it will absolutely grow, because that's his truth. He's going to do it. And those that believe he will do it, it will be done. And there's going to be failures along the way, without a doubt, for everyone that ever lived that's been a believer. Just part of the way. That's part of learning, part of the difficulty, part of the struggle. But to watch out for the traps, the trapping of evil men, evil people that don't know him, that want to destroy us. They want to dump their faithlessness and their guilt and their sin guilt onto you or anyone around them. They're destroyers. Beware of the destroyer. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know any better truly, but they're doing evil and they want to destroy someone. That's as real as it gets. Their negativity and their evil and faithlessness with no belief at all is wanted to destroy and dump on everyone else. It wants the whole world to die because it's dead. That's how much selfishness and pride grows like a cancer in someone, and they're the worst at their end than they ever were in the beginning. Worse at the end. That's going to grow worse. Someone wants in their heart secretly, and they slip up openly. They pour out their folly thinking they're hiding it while they're pouring out what they really are and believe to people. That nobody can see this. No one can see them. No one can see their secret thoughts and what they really believe and what they do and what they are and what they think of others. The more destroyed someone is, the more that they start wanting everyone to be destroyed right along with them. It's as real as it gets, and it's frightening. They show this. The devil pours out its folly through the images of Hollywood, where some kid is just filled up with demonic pride and insecurity beyond comprehension. All of a sudden, he gets a power. What does he do with that power? He instantly starts using the power to destroy everything and anything around him. And revenge, some personal choices picked out in partiality, 1 or 2 or 5 people out of billions to exact revenge on them specifically, that did some kind of evil to them 10 years ago, 50 years ago. Okay, if it's a kid, it's not that long, but can someone see it? You know, what evil is, what revenge is. If man was given power, he's already proven that he can't handle it and only wants to use it for evil. Who do they think they are? Who do these people that make these movies think that the world is? Who are these frogs that run the world with frog eyes and slime? It's like what their heart is. This is who runs the world and always have run the world. They are the cartoon and animations that they show, and they're proud of it. They think they're hiding while dumping out who and what they are to all people in the open. It's obvious for anyone who can see. It's not obvious for anyone that's blind. Not even the Creator could see their sins and all their works and what they plan and want to do, and they have to blame someone else for their sins. They have to. The more sin someone is, the more they blame others, the more insecure they become. They're fearful cowards, and they're worried someone's coming for them to take their life every day that they live, and all they deserve it for that much evil that's done. Let the Father repay them according to their works. Every last judgment is what someone deserves that does that much evil. Let them be in fear every day then. Let them rust, and let their kingdoms rust and melt and be destroyed all the way to the ground and utterly demolished. That's what the devil's afraid of, because it's all going to come someday, and already is. It already is spiritually, and it's coming. That's what these kingdoms have to look forward to, is to be utterly destroyed and taken over. No more of man's stupid evil ruling. He couldn't do it. He was given 6 days and he couldn't do it. Never did good a day in his life. He proved it. Look at the history. Look at the works. What do they have to do because of all that guilt? Try to modify and twist the history, confuse it, throw in a bunch of false things with some true things to hopefully confuse so that no one actually knows those true things. They might hear of them, but they don't really know in their heart, which is the goal of the devil in all wrath and grenade blowing up, scattering of everything. 50 million different languages, not that many, but, thousands of different languages, all confused. 50,000, 10,000, however many there are, of different ways of saying the same exact thing. How confusing is that? What on earth is the point of that? 50 different ways, 100 different ways, 50,000. See, the bigger the number is, the deeper that same sin is. It just grew worse. Of saying tree, 50,000 different ways. Why? We're one. We're one. No, this world's not one, and the Father won't let it become one. It's never been one. It has no intention to become one. It wants to destroy everything and everyone off the face of the earth and take it all for itself. That's what their intentions are. That's what they really need to hide by telling you how much they love you and care about you, to put someone in more debt and control them even more, always in fear, always needing to work for the devil and work for them constantly. That's all that they can think about is more, more, more. They cannot be satisfied. 6,000 years and they still can't be satisfied. They gain the whole world and still can't be satisfied. Solomon has, 700 women that he commits adultery with? Oh, but maybe because he was technically married to most of them or something? How much adultery is that? Messiah teaches that if someone divorced their wife, except for one reason, sexual immorality, they commit adultery with whoever they're with next, period. And whoever marries a divorced person commits adultery with her. Yeah, there's not going to be very many in the world that believe these words and keep them. We know. The time is 6:06 here because that's what man is, carnal, 6:6. That's all he can be. He doesn't believe the truth. Of course not. Does Messiah condemn the world by speaking the truth of this adultery? So was Solomon an adulterer or not in his heart? What he did himself, apart from the Father's words, apart from the letters being given through them? No. Yes, he's an adulterer and a big adulterer. He gained the whole entire world. Not even silver cups are good enough. Make it all gold. Anything less is abomination to the wicked, wretched, miserable, naked man that Solomon really is in his heart. Solomon is the leaders of this world. That's what it looks like. Whoever the leaders of this world are and all the evil they do, that is who Solomon was. On another level, deeper and even more sin. Gaining the whole world is going to corrupt someone the most possible. Look how many women, look how much corruption. Was he satisfied? He died in utter agony and misery in heart, totally rusted out in cancer, blackness and darkness, with zero hope and zero life and zero light. The words that someone comes out of their mouth is just sin guilt. They can make themselves sound like whatever they want, no matter how destroyed they are. It's all used for deceit and deception. He died in utter agony and misery with all that adultery and wickedness and all the sin that was done in the heart. That's what no one saw before. No one in Jerusalem saw. They couldn't see the judgments, just like it can't see today. No one can see that doesn't believe. It's astonishing what man can't see. He thinks those riches and those things proves that he's righteous and good. No, it actually proves the exact opposite in this case. It proves the exact opposite. And Messiah teaches that a man's life does not consist of the possessions he has. Well, not to Solomon, not to people that love money and love the world and all the things in it, whoever that is, which is the whole world. So who's telling the truth? Well, all his word is telling the truth, but there's the natural and the spiritual. There's man's understanding of the letter, and then there's the real understanding that only comes from above, only can be given through being sought after and actually asked for in the heart. Otherwise, Messiah wouldn't say, teach, ask. And we wouldn't read also, you don't have because you don't ask. That's true for a believer to do, because the Father's righteous, not because he hates them, not because he hates people out of some kind of wickedness and evil like a Hitler does. It's because that's the only right thing. It's because he's truthful. He cannot give to what someone doesn't ask. Even a believer needs to figure out, learn to ask. And he helps us with all the things that we can't even figure out. Like we read that the Spirit will do. Intercede, I think, is the word for what we don't even know how to ask for properly. Because he's good, he doesn't have to do any of these things, but that's who he is, so he absolutely does. But we do have to ask, because how can he give who doesn't ask? That's stupid. That's a sin. That's a lie. I'll just give someone something like that doesn't ask. Well, that's for a believer to find out and do along the way. And yet he does give grace to someone that never sought after him. He does give that gift of faith to whom he has mercy on. He has mercy on whom he has mercy, but now we have to find out his way and learn and do these things. That's why we read them, because they need to be done for real. There's not some cheap grace covering someone with the murder and atoning of someone else's blood. The murder of another sheep, another person, does not cover self. That's the sacrifice of the wicked. That's what the wicked think of the sacrifice of Messiah and the sacrifices they read of in his word. That's the sacrifice of the wicked that do that sacrifice in their heart all the time. Murder and the blood of that murder that they murdered and killed and murdered with their heart atones for their sins. Just a little bit confused. See, they can't see the difference between good and evil, only knowing the evil first and already having that. They can't see the good that it really always meant. The people couldn't see it. Israel couldn't see. They still can't see. That's of natural Israel. That's of the carnal man. That's of unbelief. That isn't receiving heavenly and spiritual things, because the natural man cannot receive the things of the Spirit of Elohim like we read. Cannot. As long as someone's holding on to that natural man, he doesn't have anything of spirit, anything spiritual, zero understanding. He just has what this world calls understanding, wisdom, which is just going and doing more sin and finding out the destruction that it causes self. That's wisdom. Does that sound like wisdom to anyone? That is the wisdom of this world. That's the wisdom of the devil from the beginning, is go and sin more, find out what that sin looks like, feels like, for destruction. Then, of course, when someone does that, they won't be able to believe they're in sin. They're in a delusion. But I'm speaking of what it really is in reality, apart from delusion. It's just going and committing adultery with 700 women and finding out the wisdom of that, the knowledge of that. Now he has knowledge of what it's like, the destruction, the judgment, because you actually have to do it to receive the knowledge for it. There's a truth to that. And yet it's zero knowledge, yet it's utter foolishness and abomination. It is zero wisdom according to what true wisdom is from above. But there is a knowledge working, and it's just a stupid, dumb knowledge, and it's just a destruction. If someone wants to figure out the knowledge of what it's like to kill a man, they cannot comprehend what it's like, neither can I, unless we do it. That's it. That's the knowledge of this world, is to find a trick to get someone to think it's good, sell a package, sell an image, but when it's done, it's utter judgment and destruction that they could not comprehend and thought they were wise. They weren't so wise. The moment someone kills someone, that's why they show it on Hollywood all the time, because that's what's real. They can't believe it. The judgment that struck them from the Almighty instantly, the moment that someone dies, now that's real. Now they killed someone. The Father's not wicked. He's not judging someone as a murderer, a literal murderer, if they didn't do that. So that one that never did that before cannot comprehend the destruction, the knowledge of the judgment, just more death. It takes no wisdom to do this until they do the sin. Now they have to go and kill more because they can't stop, because the Father can't be mocked. After Solomon commits adultery with 20, he needs to go to 700. He can't stop. It's a fact. It's a judgment. Cannot stop. It's frightening what man is. Cannot stop. Now he has the knowledge, which he doesn't have, but he has some kind of knowledge. This is how the devil uses the Father's word and twists it to make it sound like it's a good, amazing thing, but I'm trying to bring out what it really is versus the lie. How stupid and foolish it is, and astonishingly dumb it is, and evil it is. But the devil packages and sells it to look convincing and lustful and seductive. Now Solomon knows the destruction. Now he's wise, and people will see how wise he is. Look at how wise he is. Look at the tribulation he endures for all that adultery and wickedness. Such a wicked man and a murderer and an adulterer on another level. Look how wise and knowledgeable he is, says some worshiper, a fan of the king. Incredible. Yeah, that's what's really happening. People are worshiping the sinner. The more someone sins, the more they love them and worship their image, that is. Not love them, worship their image. They don't love them. They hate them, but they worship the image. Usury, wanting to have a piece of that fame, piece of that delusion that doesn't actually exist. It's all a lie. It's all destruction. It's all going into destruction. Someone wants what's real, that's forever, that's always stands. That's to do the Father's will and receive the things from him. They will not disappoint. His things do satisfy. Anything that's not of him is not allowed to satisfy, including 700 different women for adultery. A man should know and learn, and the good thing is we can receive the Father's knowledge and truth without actually going and doing what Solomon did. We can understand the true understanding without that stupid knowledge of going and doing that much sin. Through the devil, through man, through in this world cannot see any good way. He needs to go and do it to find out, but he uses that as a lie and excuse too. It's all sin. He says that in his heart, but no, he doesn't. It's a lie. You can seek the good and find out the truth from the Father, but you use that as an excuse to go and sin and justify your sin. Adam and Eve, that's what Adam and Eve do. They use that as a lie and excuse and lie to their own soul that they need to go and figure out by doing it. This is the knowledge and wisdom of this world. It's astonishing. This is the knowledge, so-called, of the whole entire world. Serpent knowledge. Now, if it's a different sin, it's working the exact same way, but maybe it's stealing and the different aspects of stealing. Maybe it's idolatry. Or, idols. Yes, idolatry, adultery. Whatever sin it is, it's working the exact same way. Now apply it to every sin, to every law, the breaking of every law. That's how it is. It's applying to all of them because they all are from the Father. It's all one. Someone wants wisdom in this or that area. Well, you have to go sin now. Go get your wisdom. Go be destroyed. And people die. They die within right away, and they die more and more. And, sometimes they literally die over a toilet, completely destroyed. That's not what Hollywood sells. They don't sell that image. Why don't they sell the truth for what happens to so many, even literally? Why don't they sell that image? They can't. They want to hide that because they're all devils in destruction. It's the truth. They want to destroy everyone. All of them, everyone. They have no regard or life for anyone. If they did, they wouldn't do what they're doing, and they would speak the truth. They would speak the truth to the enemy. They would speak the truth to the world, to its neighbor, to whoever, to all, without partiality, without showing favoritism. And that's a whole nother sin that man's constantly doing, is being partial, showing favoritism and severe partiality with things. Whatever benefits him, he'll show partiality towards it. Whatever is conveniently a sin for him, he will excuse and show partiality towards it. Then he won't apply the same doctrine to other things and other people, so he can condemn them. Well, whatever someone measures out, it's measured back onto them. That's the verse that popped up for the verse of the day for me today. Here it is, but okay, it went away. I swiped it away earlier. Well, here's another one, actually. This I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. He who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. It takes work to do the Father's things for his will and his kingdom. Whoever sows sparingly, they should expect to receive that sparingly. What a hard thing. What a perfect truth. It doesn't ever look or sound fair, does it? That's the hard truth right there. It is fair, ultimately. We just have to see how. That's from 2 Corinthians 9:6. 9:6, okay. Let's see what's above and below that. After that verse, so let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not grudgingly or of necessity, for Elohim loves a cheerful giver. See, not giving out of debt. That's how this world only works. That's what we have to come out of, is to stop doing that bit by bit. No more debt and working out of debt, slaving away for someone's wicked image and our own image, unable to speak the truth, like a robot going and doing the sin because we have to worship the image and are worried for how we look in that moment to others, and then have to pretend we're scratching our face or doing something to complete the image and lie. You know, that's what we have to stop doing. How many times has it been done? I don't know. Too many. It would be nice to never be done ever again, but that's not likely happening for anyone unless they're at their very end already, you know, and overcome all things. And yet we gotta stop doing that evil. That's deceiving the neighbor. It's deceiving others around us. That means that's a lie. That's murder. That's evil. That's not doing good to neighbor, deceiving someone. And Elohim is able to make all grace abound toward you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, may have an abundance for every good work. As it is written, he has dispersed abroad, he has given to the poor, his righteousness endures forever. He who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food, supply and multiply the seed you have sown, and increases the fruit of your righteousness, while you are enriched in everything for all liberality, which causes thanksgiving through us to Elohim, for the administration of the service not only supplies the needs of the saints, but also is abounding through many thanksgivings to Elohim. While through the proof of this ministry they glorify Elohim for the obedience of your confession to the gospel of Messiah, and for your liberal sharing with them and all men, and by their prayer for you who long for you because of the exceeding grace of Elohim in you. Thanks be to Elohim for his indescribable gift. There's like a whole window, doors open or available that need to be opened for good that just man never did before, never saw, never wanted to do, never cared about, never thought about. Never had others before themselves in their mind. And that's exactly the selfishness that needs to die in every believer and ultimately everyone. But we know that this cannot truly die in unbelievers now. It's only possible through his way. It's really not happening. The heart is not changing. A miracle is taking effect for those that believe, and it's not happening for those who don't. And to try and say a lie that it's possible and is for our own image's sake, so that we sound and look good and beautiful and amazing, so that we sound like we're good and righteous and care about everyone, is evil. And that person is going to go down in destruction unless they repent for doing that evil. They're going to have to do more deception. They're going to be exposed as frauds even more so if they don't repent. They're going to do more evil in 2 years than they've ever done if they don't repent. They're going to become more famous if they don't repent. Man, that must sound stupid to this world. Yeah, that's like something to worry, is to become even more delusional, more famous, sell the product and the lie to even more and destroy even more people become even deader than dead, zombie dead, and get even more careless, even more hopeless. Well, I'm in it deep now, might as well keep going. And because of that belief, they have to keep going because that's what they believe. Now I'm in it even more. I can't stop and won't stop and got to keep going. So it will be done to the one that believes that and doesn't repent. Now I'm in it 1,000 instead of 50. Got to keep going. Can't stop, won't stop. I'm in it deep already. There's no hope for saving me. That's what has to happen for most people. Hopefully there's a few in this world that have just a little bit of fear at some point in their life and believe and come out of that destruction. How do you come out of it? That's just straight up darkness. No one's going to save them. No one cares about them. That's the real reality that this world tries to hide, is that no one cares. And it's poured out. It's poured out, isn't it? That nobody cares. It's poured out through comedians. It's poured out during some sarcastic thing that someone does during the day, during some situation, and everyone goes, ha, 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 ha. That's how they pour out everything. It is freaky, the slavery to sin. That I've seen this movie that was perfectly casting the image like they always do. I think a few months back, and I did some video on actually one little scene, I think. I don't know if it's still standing up, but it was freaking me out. It was because I could see that's what reality really is. Literally just a slave driver to someone else and to sin, and can do nothing except worship the image of the beast. That's not liberty. That's why the law of liberty, that seems like it wouldn't be liberty, law is liberty, because the ability to keep his laws in our heart is the liberty, is coming out of the slavery to sin, the slavery to evil, and worshiping the image of the beast that the enemy wants everyone to do, is give worship to him, give worship to wickedness and to selfishness. The very thing that Messiah can make us free from, and whoever believes with the true belief in him shall be free indeed, like he says. And someone would like to take that belief, this whole world, all evil, to take that belief away. That taking of that belief away will destroy the one that doesn't believe that. That's the goal, because a man becomes what he believes, what his heart believes, not what he says with the mouth, but what his heart really believes, because that's the real things. If someone starts believing a lie, they're going down because of what that secretly means, that they don't understand what it secretly implies, what it secretly teaches, how to sin and continue in sin. Secretly teaching faithlessness, secretly teaching all kinds of abominations that man never believed he actually did, does, and continues to do, and lusts and wants to do, and is evil, and that there is no good in him. He can't believe it. So let the filthy be filthy still. Let them do their evil and fill up in sin. Messiah says, follow me, follow him. Don't worry about the world, and don't worry about it. Just let them do what it must do. There's no other way. There's no saving it. There is no saving this world. Messiah does not pray for the world, but only for those that the Father has given him. Would someone say it's evil for a believer to start believing that and praying that we only pray for those that the Father gives us and not for the world? Doesn't make us look good, does it? Now the works at the end and continually now, whatever someone does is what the Father judges. If they do good, then good is being done back to them. Blessings and more good will come to them. But in the end, everyone's works will have proven what they really were. And a believer can't care about the image anymore and what the whole entire world thinks of them. If they were to, see them, which they don't, but the whole entire world only cares about the image and what others think of them. That's the very thing that will make someone continue to sin, is caring about the image. That guarantees that sin will continue, because it requires sacrifice of the image to do good. They're one. If someone is currently caring about how they look, they're sinning. Period. Some way, somehow. It's already over. They're sinning. They're in deep sin if they care with their heart and are currently working out of the intention of caring what they look like and sound like to others. They're already in sin continually. And they won't believe that they are. No, they won't. They can't. It would be good for them to believe it, because that's the only way, is to see who and what we are and face self and face that we were always evil. There is nothing harder. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. You know, they make jokes on this. I could remember something like with some movie or movies out there that said something about the dirt. Save it for the righteous, for theirs is like, for they shall inherit the earth. And it's just kind of like this mockery, this like, you could just see the judgment in the wicked that said that. They have no clue what they're doing, but people will laugh, you know, ha ha ha, no clue at all. You know, and there is some kind of sick humor to that, you know, but they don't say it with any good intention. As if it's about literal dirt, you know. No clue what they do. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. It's the only way to be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Cursed are the merciless, for they shall never obtain mercy, as long as they're in that condition. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. God. They shall see Elohim. Cursed are the impure in heart, for they shall never see Elohim. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of Elohim. Cursed are the warmongers and makers, for they shall be called sons of the devil. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Cursed are those who are, let's see, how is the reverse of this? Cursed are those who are not persecuted for righteousness' sake. Cursed are those who are worshipped for wickedness' sake, something like that. For theirs is the kingdom of this world instead of the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they revile. This is when someone's blessed. There's nothing harder than this. Who can believe this? Blessed are you when they revile and persecute you. That's not fun. That's like murdering you. Won't someone say you're an automatic wicked sinner because someone's doing evil to you? Well, they wouldn't know the difference between this and receiving evil for sin. Blessed are you when they revile and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely. Well, that's a lot of murder. That's a lot of evil. That's a lot of destroying of our image, isn't it? Falsely? What does that make the image look like for everyone to believe something false about you? And say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. The reverse. Cursed are you when they bless you and do good to you and say all kinds of good for you. Truly for anti-Messiah's sake. But the point is that when that's reversed, that's obviously being well spoken of and commended by others, worshipped by others, you know, lifted up. Everyone's saying good things only. This world is speaking good of you. No, Messiah says, blessed are you when they revile and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Now someone has to make sure they're not receiving this because of doing evil. Like every person that ever went to prison secretly and pours out and believes in the secret place of his heart that he's righteous and good, suffering for Messiah's namesake after murdering someone. They persecute me. The devil mocks through the wicked, through his servants, mocking the true Messiah with anti-Messiah spirit, acting like they're the image of Christ, Messiah, for doing evil, for doing actual evil. This is what evil people will do. They will take the truth and apply it to themselves as they're being thrown in prison for evil, not for any good. For evil. Massive difference. Who can see the difference between going to prison for evil and Messiah being persecuted and basically captive, taken captive by the beast for doing good? Did anyone think he did good? He must not be good, right? Because they're about to kill him. He must be wicked. The world won't see the difference. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad. For people doing evil and hating you and literally just getting finished with murdering you and speaking falsely against you, rejoice and be exceedingly glad. Yeah, I know I need to do this way better than whatever it is right now. That's incredibly difficult. It's an impossible work, and yet we can't make an excuse and say it's impossible, because with the Creator, all things are possible. This is what we have to do. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward. Where? In heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. What are these good works that Messiah speaks of? These are the Father's work that his people need to do. These are those good works. They're the Father's good works that his people really need to do and do. Do not think I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Someone is saying the same words out there in some church world, ready to talk about hell and burning people alive. It's incredible. The devil mocks and says all the words. He knows the Father's word through this carnal copying and just saying the words and tricking and deceiving people with it. All the words that have ever been said have already been said. I'm convinced, that otherwise the Father's word would be a lie, and it's not a lie, that there is nothing new under the sun. Everything that man's heart has done before, it's happening again, and it's getting worse, actually, in this time and age we're in. Did not come but to fulfill, to do, to accomplish, to complete what it always was lacking and never was fulfilled. He came to do what no one else did. Now every believer in Messiah needs to do what no one ever did before that didn't believe in him, that we never did either before believe. For assuredly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away. This is how strong it is. One jot or one tittle, not even the tiniest little detail, will by no means pass from the law till all is fulfilled. Whoever therefore breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches men so shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Now Messiah is giving a contrast to whatever looks to be the smallest and the least. It's very important. Whoever does the least, what about the greatest then? If this is true for the least, that's the point. Is called least in the kingdom. It affects it affects the person. If they do this with the tiniest thing, that actually is the tiniest thing to people and what they perceive as worthless or tiny, if they do this to the tiniest thing, they are all the way from the bottom, middle, or whatever, wherever, all the way to the bottom, the least in the kingdom. That's how important it is. But that's not over yet. No one that continues to do that actually knows the Father. But whoever does and teaches them, I'll skip a few here. Whoever therefore breaks one of the least of these and teaches men to do shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. No, I didn't. But whoever does and teaches them, yes, now whoever does the least and teaches them, he shall be called great in the kingdom. For I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. So it does sound like he's saying you can sin and still be in the kingdom. No sinning with intent, no. Unless the righteousness exceeds the scribes and Pharisees, you will by no means even enter the kingdom of heaven. He's not teaching that. He used the least and the greatest to teach that the smallest detail is very important, and it will affect the person by teaching that the least and the greatest, they will be least in the kingdom, they will be greatest in the kingdom. That tiniest detail will make that difference. That's how important it is. I'm not even talking about the greatest things yet. This is all for the least. But now, after all that, anyone who does not exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, the hypocrites, the religion, anyone that doesn't actually believe and trusts in their own righteousness, doesn't even enter the kingdom. So no, someone doing that evil, literally, teaching people to sin with the least of the laws, doesn't even enter the kingdom. That's the truth. They can't continue to do that. That's just a contrast to show how important every detail is, even the smallest, even whatever someone perceives as the smallest detail is very important. It's very important, but it's lesser compared to something else that's a little greater. Now that greater thing is very important, but it's a little bit bigger than the other smallest thing that's very important. Doesn't mean it's not important to the Father. It's very important. Whoever's faithful with little is faithful with much. Whoever is not faithful with little is not faithful with much. But man will do it backwards and just say the words in rebellion, in pride, and apply righteousness to himself in rebellion, in spite, out of the heart, and just say the opposite because he says so. He's God. Oh, but it doesn't stand in his heart, and the Father won't allow that to stand. That person is judged and stricken down by the Creator for saying that, and all the works they do in their life prove that they're not what they say they are at all. It proves it, and they can't see how because they don't want to. I think I might end there for now. The smallest details are important, huge. That's the only way to grow into and continue. If the smallest thing is not done, when are we going to do it? When is it ever going to grow and become anything more than the smallest thing? When is all that work that needs to be done going to be done if the smallest step is never done? It's huge. Take a step in faith of believing the Father's word a little bit more, whatever someone's able to believe it a little more and do according to that faith a little bit more work, a little more belief in anything good, in believing his judgment a little bit more, say, fearing a certain judgment and taking the smallest, whatever looks like such a tiny step, and then that person will be given more. They will be blessed for that tiny thing, what seems tiny, but it's actually not tiny. that can apply at any time for anyone, including myself all the time. There's always room for improvement, and a lot of it. So it seems it's always going to be until the very end. It's always something to remember and do better constantly. A frustrating thing too, but that's the truth. His way is perfect and incredible and astonishing how dumb self is, the carnal man, the old man, just a fool, an idiot that just wants self-destruction. So then let the old man be destroyed then, since he's nothing but death. Let him be destroyed for life to lay down that wicked old man, that foul thing, that foul creature, that first creation that never knew what it was to stand and walk. He just thinks because he literally walks, he's walking. Because he stands, he's standing. He falls, he gets back up from the ground. This is the world of wisdom of the world. I'm strong because I literally got back up from the ground, or applying all these things to carnal, worthless things. Deceiving people because it looks like a form of wisdom and knowledge. And it has nothing to do with the Creator. It's completely detached from the Father. The heart, that is. Why someone is saying what they're saying is detached 100% from the Creator. The Father is not in their thoughts anywhere in their temple. Just completely gone. Nothing. It's astonishing. All the things that the Creator did, the life that He gave everyone, the things that He's already done for everyone. Nothing, not even a thought throughout the day, just thinking about beastly, worldly, carnal things. No thanks, no nothing, no works, no forgiveness, no mercy, no thanks, nothing, no worship. So then that worship goes somewhere else. If it's not going to the Father, it's being poured out somewhere else, to the image of the beast and everything that's attached to that, to other people, to idols, to other gods, so-called, peoples. That worship is being poured out elsewhere. Now we got to go the other way, is stop that. And now that all that worship is due to the Creator. Take it more from the people, from the image, and more to Him. Until it's perfect. Until it's complete. What was the title? To Him Who Works. Faith is not, the true faith is not the working of the law like we read and man's trying, man's self-understanding. That's all. That's not good. That's the way of death. But through faith, then there's a way made to do His works now and keep His laws in our heart that someone never did before. They never knew what it meant until they're given. Even what keeping a certain law is in someone's heart that's not what it is. It needs to become what it needs to be. It wasn't that first image and thing. But anyone that asks and believes that he can give and will give, then that's what the Father will do. He's not a liar. If someone believes and asks with their heart and believes in Him, then he will do it. That's His promise. And it looks this way, and it is, that this world's not interested in those promises, the most of it. So it's got to be. It's interested in worldly things, worthless things, that it's still attached to and seeking and chasing. all for death, all for a trap, all for a trick, just so that someone can die more and be left completely bankrupt and empty spiritually. In the end, that thing will not satisfy or do any good for them. And the man really is not, like Messiah says, a person's life does not consist of the things he possesses. He just cannot do what the Father gives and does. Cannot. It has no power to do that good thing for life. It's just an object at the end of the day that is used deceitfully and evilly so often, and it cannot give life. It's not the creator, it's just an object. It doesn't have any power of itself. But something has power if one wants to breathe breath into that object. That idol becomes a god and a living thing in their heart. Like, that's why we read in Revelation, the first image of the beast breathes in life. Man breathes into the breath as if he's the creator. Such a prideful thing. Only the creator breathes in life to Adam and gives life. Only he does that. No one else does that directly from themselves. He's the giver of life and the breath of life. And also now the Spirit, the true life, breathing in the life, his Spirit, his life, into his people that believe. But man, thinking he's God in his heart, breathes in life, so-called life. It's a lying wonder. Breath into the object, into the stone god, into the wood, into the image that he created, the golden calf, the image, the God. And now it becomes alive because of wanting to believe it's alive. This is that breath in quotation marks, meaning it's false, it's a trick, it's a delusion. It's looking like it's the real breath. It's masquerading the Creator's breath. It starts believing, it starts coming alive. It's alive! It starts becoming alive in a delusion. Really freaky. This is what's being done to the gods that man creates. And the Father will allow it to be so. Whatever someone wants to believe, that's what they want to believe. That thing has power. They will see just enough proof in their mind that it has power and is God and is some kind of power and idol and whatever someone is speaking of it. They want to believe some object has some kind of power. Do this ritual real quick and some crazy disease will just be healed. Well, someone will believe it. And the Father might actually do a little bit of healing here and there himself so that it looks like their object did that, so that they believe the lie that it was the stupid wood that did that and not the Creator. Pretty frightening. Pretty freaky. Who knows how it's all working out, all his judgments. But that's his truth. He will make someone believe the lie as a judgment and give them hardcore what they want. They want rebellion, he'll do it. He'll make them believe in their lie and go into rebellion more because that's what someone wants. They have to find out. Unfortunately, man has to find out what death is, what sin is. He's got to find the knowledge of it. He's got to be knowledgeable by sinning more and figure out what that destruction is. He's got to see that destruction, sniff it out, and be destroyed. What a hard thing to see that's what man can only do and want constantly. It's not for his people to do that anymore, though. It's to seek out his wisdom and knowledge and turn away from the sin and start obeying the command. Now there is a way to receive wisdom and knowledge from him without doing the sin and filling up in that sin to the max. There's a way to get the knowledge that's from him without doing the sin and filling up with it and finding out the destruction of that sin. We can have the knowledge of a destruction, of a sin, because he gives it, he teaches it. And anyone that doesn't believe that, they have to go find out themselves through the carnal wicked sin, through the devil's trick, with that knowledge and wisdom to make oneself wise. I can't believe it myself, hardly. Man, how blind that is, how evil it is, and yet that deception's working all the time. Let it not work on his people. I think I'll end here then. All right, peace, take care, seek truth from above.